After several days of rising tension in our relations with Argentina, that country's armed forces attacked the Falkland Islands yesterday and established military control of the islands.
They bussed our wives and all that down to the port. And the band of the parachute regiment were playing away, and as the ship pulled away, they're playing Ride of the Valkyries and all this. And I thought, wow, this is something, you know what I mean? And as we got further away and you couldn't see anyone anymore, and then someone nudged me and said, look at that. And up on the headland as you leave Portsmouth, and there's a car park, and there was a car up there, and there was someone flashing V in Morse on the headlights.
Until the Sheffield was hit by an Exocet and then abandoned a little bit later, they realised this is for real. There was a shock that a modern good ship had been hit. It was a very sobering moment for people. I led the invasion force into Falkland Sound on the 21st of May. Well, up till then, there'd been some air-to-air fighting out in the total exclusion zone. When we led the invasion force into Falkland Sound, that was the start of the invasion and then the constant fighting. And it was that day that we were hit and bombed again and again and finally had to abandon ship. I sadly lost 22 of my boys who were killed. And that's always, very sad indeed. And that always sits with you, really. And I had no weapons still, so I made the decision then that, there was no point really in keeping people on board who would die, not when we couldn't fight, we couldn't do anything. And so I made the decision that we should go at that stage. And luckily there was a frigate nearby, HMS Yarmouth, and she stuck her stern on my bow. And apart from some people had to go and went in the water, but and the bulk of my ship's company were able to get off my bow into HMS Yarmouth, which meant a lot more was saved, really.
And we could see out in the bay, out in Falkland Sound, HMS Ardent was burning, and we saw HMS Antelope come back into the bay with a hole through her side, where the bomb had skipped off the water and gone into the ship. And sadly she blew up later on when Jim Prescott went to defuse the bomb. We really felt for the Navy guys, actually. On Intrepid they were saying, oh, we wouldn't fancy you lot going ashore and all the rest of it. And we said, we don't want to stuck here in this tin can, The shore is where we feel safe, It didn't feel like we were winning at that point. We're all laid there on the ground. The Sergeant Major went along in the dark very quietly. He said, if you want to have a word with the man upstairs, do it now, because some of us might not have another chance. He says, I'm going to. And then the word came down the line, fix bayonets. and we all just got to our knee and just fixed bayonets, stand up, forward, and we started walking forward into the minefield. From the moment we started walking forward to getting through the minefield was only a matter of minutes. We were trying to push up through these rock gullies. We did get a little bit channeled into those. And the Argentinians were throwing hand grenades down them. We could hear the grenades going dink, 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 boom. At one point, it felt like one of these things went off right next to my head. You know, it was a hell of a bang, and all I could see was just white. Picked myself up and we cracked on.
When the ship got hit, it was just a thud. That's all we heard. The exercise impacted and dropped down. It caused total devastation. When we went round to the port side, there was a big hole on the deck in front of the hangar. The hangar got taken out.
And I was just going into the back door of Government House. Out walks General Menendez, who was the Argentinian commander of the Falklands, followed by Jeremy Moore and a whole bunch of other very high-ranking officers. The surrender had just been signed. My section, we found a location up on Davis Street, which is the street runs along the top of Stanley, and we'd managed to liberate some wine and some whiskey from somewhere. So we had a bit of a cheese and wine party.
We cleaned up the islands. We got it steady and ready to start life after the Argentines had left. The one worrying thing was a lot of the locals had collected weapons and ammunition which had been discarded. These were stashed away in hoards. The reason given was it was to prepare for them coming back again. We did integrate with the community very, very well.
Well, it was wonderful being, having arrived in QE2. We had, whatever it was, 2 weeks to get back. And of course, it gave us time to reflect and to come to terms with what had happened. And we came back with the ship's companies of Ardent and Antelope, whose ships were lost. So there's a whole heap of us survivors. But we arrived back in UK, in better mental state.
I can sort of remember the drive home a bit, and I can remember looking out of the car window thinking, I can't get my head around this. Where the hell am I? Because my head was in a war zone. My head was on watch in the ops room of HMS Hermes, but my body wasn't, and I couldn't put the two together. I remember arriving home thinking, I can't understand any of this. Although I didn't realise it at the time, I completely understand now that I must have been impossible to live with because I didn't know what was going on.